This is orange, so we're good. All right, let's go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, Christian Patriots, and welcome to Church and State, where we strive to plug you into the pew and plug you into politics. I'm your host, Caleb Collier. With me, as always, Pastor Gabe Blomgren.
How you doing, buddy?
Good.
Friday. We've made it to Friday, 10:30 in the morning. We are here. It's kind of, I'm just going to be, as a pastor, it makes me sad that it is the most cherished day to the world, Fridays. But Sundays, the first day of the week, it's God's day. It's the holy day, man. There's going to be a day when people are more excited about Sunday than Friday. But I get it. We've made it. It's the end of the work week. We have an awesome guest.
Absolutely.
So we have an awesome guest. I'm excited about
let's give him the mic because I'm very excited about this. So our guest today is Alexander Barron. He has a website, alexanderbarron.com. Now, he is running for state senate in the state of Idaho, our neighbors over there on the east. Idaho,
which are looking more attractive all the time.
Every day.
Every day. I live closer to Idaho than you.
Yeah.
I'm very close.
Idaho actually just took the designation of the least regulated state in the nation. Hats off to him on that. So Alexander Barron is heavily involved in the Republican Liberty Caucus of Idaho. He's traveled all over the state of Idaho giving presentations and speeches. I believe you're a writer for the Charles Carroll Society as well.
Yes.
And Charles Carroll Society, for our audience that doesn't know, he was the lone Catholic that actually signed the Declaration.
Yes, that's true.
okay.
Charles Carroll.
And so interesting history there as well. Now, you are married. How many kids do you have?
We have 4.
4 kids. Okay, excellent. All right, well, let's just turn it over. Thank you so much for joining Church and State, Alex.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. So, first of all, you know what I forgot to mention? You're also a Navy veteran as well.
Oh, yes. 88 to 92, did a good job. And then I stayed in, got caught up in the drawdown, stayed in for another 6 years. So, total, I spent 10 years overseas. And I've actually I've chosen to go back a couple times recently. So I've had a small stint in Afghanistan and then other places in the Middle East in service. So I did Storm 1, did what was called officially Operation Enduring Freedom, which was the war against the Taliban, and then I supported from bases unknown the war against ISIS. So we just did that and closed that down. The war against ISIS was one of the greatest things that most people don't know, the amount of work we've done over there. If you guys remember when President Obama was president, we were having terrorist attacks constantly in the West. We had that incredible church massacre. Since President Trump has come in and allowed the military office leash, have you noticed that the amount of attacks?
I don't hear about
no one
any
talks about people
attacks.
That's because we did work.
Wow.
So I just got a hit from the Epic Times that said that the Taliban and the United States are about to sign a peace treaty. Wow. So that just hit that I saw that.
They don't sign peace treaties.
Yeah,
so
right.
obviously they've been cornered like a dog.
The first thing that President Trump allowed us to do as military commanders to actually make decisions. And I think it was within 30 days of President Trump's going into office, one of the military leaders, there were some attacks that killed people. He dropped what we call the mother of all bombs on the Taliban. That had never been dropped before, and that squared away that whole situation for a while. And now people realize that when the American people are not being destroyed by a fifth column, the American military by a fifth column here at home, then the best way to do this is go to the peace table and let's figure out a way to live together.
Well, hats off to you and the organization that you were with, and thank you so much for your service.
Oh, yes, the United States Navy. It's the military's been a great force for me in my life. And when I run for state senate, when I go down there, I talk about I'm very interested in improving ROTC and improving the Idaho National Guard, because I believe that this is a way out of bad situation for young people. The military has been a great force for good, and I am so happy that a lot of support in Kootenai County, Idaho, comes from the veterans.
As a civilian, ROTC, is that ROTC?
Yeah, it's ROTC is junior ROTC's in high school. You can join. When I was young man, I had a junior ROTC. We had BB guns, but we had a nice uniform. And when you're growing up in a fatherless environment, it's really powerful to have an old veteran there who's and he's got the uniforms. Because you're in ROTC, they let you come down to the armory, what we used to call the armory. We used to play ball there, and but you're surrounded by veterans. They're talking about stuff, and suddenly it's not just when you don't have that and you live in a very impoverished neighborhood. And by the way, it's not just black people or Mexicans who are poor. There are white people who are poor. I know that's a shocking thing to progressives, but when you do that, you usually have gangs are the only people, or these powerful thing to have this father figure. But now when you have ROTC and Junior ROTC, they are so good. I mean, and you can go there, you can be around positive people, and really have done a good job. So yeah, Junior ROTC one of those things are not as common in high schools and public schools as I think they should be. They should be.
We've seen the declination of work or wood shop, metal shop, anything masculine. I remember the day when ROTC would come out to high schools and recruit right there and have programs, and it was popular.
Yeah,
we've seen America decline. The Boy Scouts is lame now.
Boy Scouts is bankrupt now.
Yeah, it's just it's sad.
Yeah,
but anyway,
but
I
no,
agree.
the discipline is something that is instilled that's is so necessary, especially for the youth, for male youth.
Yeah.
And now, as a former Marine, I'll try not to tease you too much, being the Navy guy.
But you're going to tell everybody that the Navy is smarter and better looking than any Marine.
And we love you because you give us rides. There we go.
And we're very good at giving those rides too. Here you go. You call us if you need anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know the Navy likes to say that the Marines are a department of the Navy, and the response is always, the men's department.
Yes, it's always a classic department. But you're a good you're a good shipmate, and I want to thank you. Yeah. And you know that the Navy has been the Navy and the Marines, we work very good.
Oh, yeah.
When we don't have anybody else to squabble with, literally, of course, this never happened, but another good-looking guy that kind of looks like me may or may not have gotten into a lot of squabbles when he was a young man in the military. But it always reminded me, like, we were a bunch of Navy guys. We pick fun with each other. We have the Army, the Navy and the Marines are in the bar. We may have had some words. But as soon as the Army guy walks in,
yeah. And then you know who we all go after too
Coast Guard.
is the Air. Well, the Air Force.
Laughing stock is the Coast Guard.
but then guns.
We tease the Air Force, but then the Coast Guard. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Shallow water anchor clankers,
puddle pirates. Yeah.
Yeah. Come out here and my
Wait a second. You're trying to get elected. We might have to edit that.
That's true.
We might have to edit that.
But they know it's all in good fun.
All in good
because we
right.
respect every single brand.
Yes, it's true.
It's a sacrifice, and it's one that we willingly take. And so there's that good-natured ribbing, and that's what it's all about.
The spirit to core, I believe they call it. What is have spirit in your service and compete. We once when the Navy, a very interesting small story was when it was in the Navy, we used to have this a special mission. We would come back from our Westpacks and we would do secret hits. We would do secret tests. Intrusion upon Air Force bases. So they would schedule it and say, okay, within these 3 days, this naval carrier group is going to try to sneak in. And that was a big thing. I mean, basically it was electronic warfare, trying to spot the other guy as they come in. Because most people think these carriers, they see that it's huge, but the ocean is massive. So we lose it. And so
grain of salt.
That's how we keep ourselves up. I mean, I was in what they call the P3 Navy, the anti-submarine force. And I'll tell you, how many times a P3 Navy a P3 of any type has found a United States sub in open waters? 0. Because their subs are good, but that's how we keep our skills up is by we compete again, and it's all of my veteran brothers and sisters of all the branches know that we love each other. We're brothers. That's what we are.
So let me ask you this. Now you already mentioned black and Mexican a little bit earlier here. For our radio audience, they might not be able to tell, but you are black.
Yes.
You're a black American.
I call myself an American of African descent. I always like to say American first.
Yes.
I really do. I believe that we should be unified. So you can call me anything you want, just don't call me late to dinner. Yeah. But I think that's right. I mean, if you need to make yourself a Mexican, okay, American of Mexican descent, American of European descent, American first, though we all are American first. But
I like that as well. Now, the narrative, and you're destroying it. I love this because you're destroying this narrative that North Idaho is made up of a bunch of racists. Yeah. And yet here you are, heavily involved in the Republican Party.
Huge.
You're on the committee there. You're running for state Senate. And people love you and your message. It resonates with anybody who treasures liberty.
Yes, I do. I do believe that. Not only that, the party has been very welcoming, or the majority of the party. We've done a lot of good work. The Liberty Caucus has been incredible there. I've worked with the state party for several times. I actually met many people, though. I've met Governor Brad Little, social settings many times. I've met people like Senator Steve Vick, who I'll be working with if the people of Idaho elect me as their state senator. Mary Souza's very good people. I actually went down. One of the first things that the guy who currently holds the seat is named Don Cheatham. He's retiring. He invited me down to come with him. Don Cheatham is such a stand-up guy. We talk. It's funny because we talk all the time. And I met with Senate leadership. Brent Hill and Chuck Winder. Both men were were very, very, very professional and very good. So the Republican Party was truly founded on the party of Lincoln. It was truly founded on ending slavery. That's its roots. And so, and also the lie is told that we are always divided. The way that, in my opinion, the people who are problematic are what I refer to as globalists. These guys are really problem. And one of the things they do, I tell people, is just look at how the general store used to divide people. It used to divide people between black and white and keeping poor people looking at each other instead of going, wait a minute, you're not taking my money every month. And let's go look at the general store who's this. And so if you look at the facts, as the mass media produces it, something like they'll say 94% of Americans of African descent voted for Hillary Clinton. But if you go look at the data, 18% of Americans of African descent, males, voted for someone other than Hillary Clinton. Wow. 18%. And President Trump got more of the black vote and the Hispanic vote than any other Republican. All that pandering Mitt Romney did, all that is nonsense. So if President Trump is able, remember, I think it was something like 13% voted for President Trump, but 5% voted for another party. If President Trump is able to pick up 18%, even of the black male vote, he may win a 40% because the secret, the destruction of the Democratic Party is that if we start coming together as a people, they have to hold on to overwhelming majority of the black vote to win. And so if people go, hey, I have the jobs are incredible, the lowest unemployment rate for all people. We always have to break it up into different cuts, but okay, fine, they do that for blacks, for women, the lowest on record. Wow. I mean, that's an incredible amount of, everyone can get a job. This is 98%, 96% of people are getting jobs now. And if that continues, President Trump has a really good chance. And now, of course, the criminal justice reform he's done is also very attractive because something like 30% of black males are somewhat involved in that doesn't mean they're criminals, but it means that they may be on probations or whatever. But that kind of, now that the FBI and the DOJ, I was just remarking to a friend the other day that because the FBI and DOJ went after President Trump, now very powerful people realize that we have a problem with our criminal justice. It's a true statement. Yeah. And that doesn't mean you throw it out. That doesn't mean you demonize the whole system, but things can be improved. Any system can be improved. Yeah. And so I'm very happy that the Republican Party, especially under President Trump, is doing something that no other Republican president has done. That is truly good work. And I'm very happy. In 2015, I publicly went on the Charles Carroll Society. People can go look this up right now. And I said something to the effect of, other than Ted Cruz, who I very liked at the time, and I still do, and other than Rand Paul, who I also very much like, I said, other than these two men, who do you know will do something for liberty and conservatism other than Donald Trump in 2015 when everybody was saying that he was all this craziness? And I thank the Lord that projection absolutely that came out to be true.
Yeah, that's good.
I wanted to point out, I don't know if you know this, Caleb, he was endorsed by James Wesley Rawls, my hero, who's like, I absolutely love this guy. He's one of the most hardworking authors, and his website is like a survival
and really manual. The founder of the American Redoubt movement.
Yes.
He is the founder.
Yeah. Yes. The founder. I love him. He's been on the Alex Jones show. My dream is to have him on this show. Okay.
We got a connection
giving you
now.
A full endorsement. And I just got to say, talk about your patriot. That word patriot now has been hijacked, but you fully support the Second Amendment. You're active person who's looked at the Redoubt as a place of refuge, of freedom, safety for your own, self, family, but you're also trying to show other people that, hey, there's a place up here in Idaho that is doing things differently. The rest of the world is changing, and this ecosystem is changing, but you're creating a safe haven. There's not many Plymouth plantations left on the planet, and I feel like the Redoubt is the last one.
It is actually. James Rawls' endorsement of me, which I humbly thank him for, is not only impressive because he endorsed me, it's impressive because he has never endorsed a political candidate ever in his entire public career, period. Wow. He has said that he thinks he's known me for many years, professionally online, and he did create the American Redoubt. And James Rawls has gotten, it's terrible that these liberals are always attacked. They know nothing of the right. They know nothing of the right. And the truth is, if you go read James Rawls, he says, if you are someone who wants to advance liberty in this nation and freedom from the government, here are our he calls them precepts, but here's our guiding principles. And one of the first ones is racism ignores reason. And his theory, he actually explained it back in 2011 when he created this. And what he said was, it came to me that I would rather have a conservative black Baptist family move next to me than a white liberal family, like Antifa or something like that. He goes, a couple. He goes, literally, I would prefer that person. And he goes, that means he always says it's a cultural line. And we as American citizens have every right to try to surround ourselves with people who at least publicly try to kind of, own up to a culture that we can live with together. Yeah. And this political migration is not new. Blacks migrated from the South. The Mormons migrated to Utah. People have migrated across America, and that now they're just migrating again. And what's happening is these what we call occupied zone, which are generally super blue progressive states who have become very hostile to conservative Christians living out their faith in life. I mean, that doesn't mean we're trying to impose our faith, but California passed a law and fought it to the Supreme Court that said that churches like you who advocate for pro-life causes, or you put a pro-life, hey, if you're a young lady and you get in trouble, here's someone who can help adopt your child. If you put that in your church bulletin, you would have to advertise for abortion services. That's immoral. And so this is hostile to the mandatory vaccines, the overwhelmingly Common Core. These are infringing upon private school, infringing upon all this kind of stuff. So these is really it's not something that a lot of conservative Christians or conservatives period, or even people, as I said, there's a guy on my blog who's one of my greatest followers who's a Buddhist, and right. And so these people who just want to live free. They are trying to see what they can do. I was very lost until I actually heard the words of my good friend John Jacob Schmidt, and I heard him back on his old podcast when he was a much smaller guy. That guy has worked for 10 years to expand and to walk that, and it's a really good. So Patriots. One of the things I encourage, and you guys are in this thing too. So we're you guys know this very well. One of the things I encourage us as conservatives to do is define terms. Our opposition. Truly opposition want to deconstruct our entire society, our entire traditions. They just want to deconstruct it because they don't like it. So one of the things they do is they create words that don't mean anything. They're like far right. And I got into it. I was like, what does far right mean? They use terms like that, like hate speech. Well, okay, define hate speech. Mm-hmm. And so these are on gender. Now that doesn't mean anything. You're like, okay, what does it mean? Tell me what it means. So I define patriot as a Christian conservative who leans libertarian. That does not mean we're libertarian, but we really want to shrink the size of government. And I do take that to heart. So my candidacy for the state Senate in Idaho is freedom, which is freedom from the government and economic opportunity. I believe in President Trump's message of a nationalist economic policy. We Americans have the right to vote for policies that will encourage job growth here in America with people who are employed by Americans. We have the right to do that, and I believe that. So the patriot, they have tried to smear the word patriot and partisan, but I use it, like I said, if we define it and say we are talking about people who are conservative Christians who lean libertarian, I would love to, I'm as libertarian as until it conflicts with my strongly held religious beliefs. Yes. So but unlike what I call big government Republicans, that's what people call them rhinos, but I don't use that term because, again, it's not well defined. But there are Republicans who believe the government is the solution. That is a true statement. I talked to them already down in the states, and I'm like, this bill will grow government. But they're like, we have a problem, and so we have to pass these additional laws to grow government. I'm like, but that's exactly not what we want to do. We want to shrink. Yeah. And I'll tell you. And I'll tell you, Governor Brad Little and the Senate, and especially House, actually Scott Bedke. Most people don't like Scott Bedke. Is not the most conservative guy like me, but these guys have actually made Idaho, as you came in on and announcing, the least regulated state, and that was Scott Bedke unifying the Republican caucus in the House and saying we're not going to sign the going home bill until the Senate gives us the ability to help limit these rules, and that gave the governor the opportunity, and he did. He started scratching off a lot of rules, and that's what they're doing now. They're going down there. And so, by the way, the other thing we're only the second state. I actually forgot who the first one for the most pro Second Amendment. So we are really trying to, and I encourage everyone in the sound of my voice. We're encouraging everyone we can to push toward all of the Bill of Rights, The speech that we're going to get into Sean Vasal here in a moment. Sean Vestal got mad at us.
Our buddy.
Yeah, he got mad at a speech
he's so triggered.
Yeah, he's
a listener. So
hi Sean.
Yes, hi Sean. How are you doing? And so he wrote a real hit piece about me. There's 105 legislators running for Idaho this year. He wrote a hit piece about one. Why? Because he considers me the most conservative and the most capable.
Yeah, I tell you, he's afraid of you. You're the most electable.
Yes, thank you very much for that. But I believe also most able to advocate for
Yes.
change. And that's why the liberals, they didn't attack any of my opponents. They didn't attack any, they attacked me. And the reason, that speech that I talked about was actually a very important speech. It took me over 10 years of talking to various patriot and partisans all over the Northwest, mainly Idaho, to come up with this. And I said, what we can only win if we are promoting something. And what we all agree on, I believe, from traditional Catholics to conservative Protestants to even conservative Mormons to people who are agnostic, anyone, is that we believe that our public space should be a Judeo-Christian values, where Judeo-Christian values can exist in peace. We can say Merry Christmas to each other.
Come on.
And we can, this is something that we should all agree on. The Bible is the Word of God. That right there. So our culture should not ever be offensive to this book. Now, I believe that's not a bad thing. We're not trying to create a theocracy. We're just saying that the cultural
Thank
values.
you for saying that, because that's what they impose upon us.
Actually,
which,
Sean,
as a pastor, I don't believe in a theocracy.
No, of course, because it would create a government that's too powerful. That's exactly what we're opposed to. And the second thing is that our culture is based upon Western civilization. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. They're stripping statues from the South, yanking out art, but that's literally, these are the people who want to deconstruct and destroy our nation. Our society was based upon Western civilization.
Yeah,
That's
they have a problem with the statue of Robert E. Lee or Stonewall Jackson, and yet Seattle proudly displays a statue of Lenin.
Right. And my answer is,
who killed more people?
Right. Why take down statues? If you have an issue, why don't you just put up a statue of Martin Luther King? In other words, we're America. Why don't we just put up other statues? Okay, then everybody has a statue in the park. We shouldn't be removing, but even more importantly, they're removing books that they don't like, and that is a very dangerous thing. So they're trying to deassociate us from our Western civilization roots. And the last thing is the advocation for individual liberty. That's the third tier that I believe. We all advocate for liberty. That was my speech. That's what I believe that we all can agree on, and that's what we should promote. If you are a candidate who believes in these three things, let me help you get elected. If you are someone who's promoting these things, you have a bill that promotes these things, let me help you get that bill done. That is what we're pushing. And so he took this small word I took out of here, and he took it out of context. But even the word, Sean Vestal got mad, and I asked in the speech, as you know, you and I are military, and you and I go to these events, and we see guys who are, I love everybody's emotion and their eagerness, but they sometimes say things like, I'm willing to,
we're ready to fight.
I'm ready to fight, and we're gonna fight for the Constitution. And I'm like, hold on for a minute. Do you understand what you are saying? And so what I said was, I literally went to the audience and I said, who's willing to die for the Second Amendment? Yay. Who's willing to die for liberty? Yay. And I said, who's willing to kill for the Second Amendment? And the crowd went silent. But see, the Marine and the Navy guy knows that we don't hold up signs. That's not what the military does. We don't hold up signs and say, please go this way. We kill people and destroy their stuff. That's what the military does. And we do that until the president tells us to stop. And then thus we say, perhaps you'd like to go talk to someone way above our pay grade. But if we have to come here, we're
already far beyond.
We don't build. Our job, the Marines' jobs is not building school. The Marines don't even have most of their own infrastructure. They don't have their own corpsmen. They are warriors to the core. And that's what in the Navy, when our guns come, when we bring the Navy guns and artillery, we're coming. That's what General Mattis said. Please do not make me bring the naval guns and artillery, because means I'm serious. And so if you're going to talk about this, you need to understand it. And that's what I want. I said I wanted to back people up and go, make sure you understand what you're saying. And then I said, you're losing houses, amazing amount of property destruction, lives destroyed. So I truly believe that the political answer, I'm going to push the political answer as long as I can. That's my attitude, is that get behind us, donate, educate, talk to people, because let me tell you, almost anything we can do is, people who have seen war know that almost anything we can do is better than war.
We've got 4 minutes. I have a very important question.
I want to say one thing, and then go, because it's on the same thread of thought. The Redoubt has gotten a reputation for hunker down, prep, get your beans, get your AR, get all that stuff, and just hide. And the conversation we're having right here it reminds me of Gideon when he hid inside a cave to make wine in a wine press. They were hiding from the enemy. We're not in that process yet. Yeah, if you want to prep, great. I'm not against it. But we have to be active in our society. And that whole migration you were talking about, where the South came to the North, we are migrating to Idaho to do work. Those of us who live in the Redoubt already, I was basically born here. We moved here when I was 8, okay? That's all I've ever known is the country. And we have to be active. We cannot just hunker
You're right.
down. Is my
People,
mentality.
I talk to people all the time, and if only people who believe that are people who've never read one thing that we publish in public. There, I mean, you don't have to ask what is a Redoubt. Just go to Survival Blog. James Rawls has said what it is. It's a political migration movement, and he has always said we can't come to Idaho and sit there and sit on our laurels and sit on our 5 acres and enjoy the work that other people have done before us. We must come here and we must get in the fight and we must stay in the fight.
And the fight is, like you just said, it's the political solution, it's the education, it's getting involved in organizations like the Charles Carroll Society, like the
John
American
Birch
Redoubt,
Society.
like the John Birch Society, exactly.
Your
All
own
right.
personal church.
Yes, there you go. Okay, so one question that I ask every single person running for office, it's kind of our thing here at Church and State. What's your favorite amendment?
Actually, my favorite, well, all of them, obviously, but my favorite amendment is the Fourth Amendment, and I believe it is being, we're supposed to be secure in our effects, that is being said, personal property and effects. That is absolutely, I believe that is. I mean, the concept that the Supreme Court made a faulty decision when they decided that if your effects are held by a third party, that they can actually seize your records without any type of judicial process. That is an immoral and destructive decision. But one of the amendments that people don't talk about, actually the first statement, is that you have to be dedicated to life. You know, I'm an abortion survivor. I'm one of the rare people who have survived abortion. So it's not an amendment, but it says that the whole concept is to protect life and your liberty. Literally, life is before your liberty. How can we have any society where we have murdered
Great point.
61 million of us? I mean, that is not that we and now, you know, that's why they don't, you know, they kind of get a little bit anxious about guys like us, because we are actually passionate about ending this. 70 years or 60 years or whatever, it has not been ended. It has not been reduced, and we need to take a look at this, and we need to promote that life. And I will do that. I really enjoy promoting, expanding the Moses laws, expanding,
We gotta have you come out to the Church of Planned Parenthood and speak.
I've come there. I have not spoken, but I've come to support it.
You're
occasionally.
dynamic.
Yeah, I think
really
that'd
do.
be a great idea. We have an inn,
Yes.
so we could definitely book you as a guest speaker. I think that's a great idea. I got to say, I'm very happy to hear something like the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah.
So often when I ask people that, the Second Amendment is almost always the initial response. I believe Gabe's is the First Amendment.
Yeah.
Mine's actually the Ninth Amendment, which
And
I believe is the
I
most
never really
underutilized
thought
one.
The Fourth Amendment, though, has a direct connection to abortion, right there. Life.
Well, yeah, they created out of thin air a concept of privacy. Well, that's not even in any of the amendments or Constitution. The unfortunate point is that our Supreme Court has become a sitting constitutional convention. People always wonder about the Constitution. The Supreme Court is a constitutional convention because they're just rewriting our Constitution by every decision
operating
they make.
as an oligarchy.
Yes.
They're these king dictators, if you will. And the reality is these people aren't necessarily appointed for life. We can actually remove them from office, and we need to remember that. And we need to understand that the first sentence in the Constitution is all legislative power comes through who? Congress.
Congress.
Every single time. Yeah. So we've got 30 seconds left, Alex. Go ahead and hit us with a closing statement. Make sure to bring up your website as well.
Okay, so my name is, I'm Alex Barron. What I'm looking for is, what I like to advocate for is my government small, my taxes low, my borders strong, and my speech free.
I love
By the
that.
way, a lot of guys don't talk about speech free. My website is alexanderbarron.com, and we can really enjoy any support, volunteers, or financial.
Absolutely, and I love it. Unapologetically right. That is fantastic. All right, our guest has been Alex Barron. Sorry, I don't call you Alexander. Wonderful, wonderful individual. Highly recommend you support him. All right, Church and State is brought to you in part by Covenant Church. Always remember the tree of liberty is most likely a birch. And with that, Church and State is out.
God bless.